put in for us to use.
Yeah, Bill, two comments, I guess. First, hard for me to hear whether I'm being heard, but first comment from my experience is that when you get these proposals out, if you don't put everything in there that is supposed to be in there, and as well as you can, and that would include things like the golf course, of course, but irrigation, extra work that's being done, then they're going to come back and say, that wasn't in the contract. And then they're going to give you, you're going to put an addendum out, they're going to give you a price, and they're going to make a lot of money. My concern is that, did you make sure that you did? It sounds like you did because you talked to Tommy Land.
Yes, what we did is, just to stress, I wrote this with Tommy Land and Dave Rogers. We wrote it, in fact, what's happening here today. So we have in there the tennis court maintenance. We have in there overseeding rates. We have in there irrigation as a separate specification that has to be addressed. We have a not to exceed. We didn't have the dumpster, for instance, in there. We paid $20,000 a year for a roll-off dumpster. We threw that in the contract with a not to exceed of 20. We're not going to pay that anymore. We had a not to exceed on irrigation. We put that in the contract. It's much cleaner, much better. This contract, Tom did a great job last time. We've taken things that didn't make Tom's contract, like the tennis court, detailed 5-page tennis court maintenance, and also the other not to exceed. We've got the gazebo garden in there. We've got the butterfly garden in there. We've got the RV line in there.
Well, that sounds good.
Yeah, the palm trees on the median on the county line in there.
I mean, between you and Bob and Kevin, as far as I'm sure you're going to get the best there is. The other item that I have is that in the evaluation, well, first of all, you said you're going to present it to the board and they're going to make a decision.
That's correct.
But they're going to make a decision based upon your response and the ratings which you apply to your evaluation. You can come up with ratings of that evaluation. And it's very important that those ratings are in agreement.
Right. We're not going to rate it 1-2. All we're going to do, and all we intended to do, is make sure that the request for proposal, that the specifications are being met. We're not going to talk about, there's prices on these bids. That's for the board to decide. That, like Bob said earlier, these prices have not influenced us whatsoever.
So you're not going on a rating, you're going on a pass or fail.
That's correct. Either they meet the specifications or they don't meet.
My last comment is I think you guys are doing a good job from what I'm listening and hearing what's happening here. And an organization this size doesn't get the quality of talent you got here. So, good luck.
Thank you. Yeah, the other thing is, from my standpoint, is I told the board this, and I mentioned this earlier. Not fear, but somewhat of fear. I want to make sure that the specification is met, and that I can tell the board is looking to me to tell them, yes, these two companies are equal. These bids are equal. This company's going to do the same thing that this company's going to do. There's no coming after with addendums and benefits. Then it's up to the board to justify the price against what's being done and do what's best for the residents, which I feel fully confident they'll do. But I can't afford, I've been with you all 3 years, and I'm hoping to stay here a lot longer. But if I don't make sure that specifications is written and adhered to in this contract, you understand the ramifications I'm looking at? If we hire somebody and change from Valley Crest and this golf cart starts to go, yeah, I'm going to be the one that's going to pay for that. So I just want to assure you, I'm putting all my professionalism, all my knowledge forward to make sure that this specification, when the four of us send it to the board, that I can convince first these three, that the two board officers and a member at large, that the specification's been met, and that we can say as a group, yes, board of directors, now it's up to you to decide what are you going to weigh. If it's a price issue, what are you willing to accept as a reduction in price to get rid of a 5.5-year tenured contractor that we know, and we know what they've done and that they can continue to do.
Just a comment. Bill, you know and I know that Valley Crest does more than what's in the contract. There is something to be said for a known quantity. I hope that gets to the board.
I completely agree. Just, though, when we were on our tour, the Groves said exactly the same thing about OneSource, that they go above and beyond. If something goes wrong and it's not in the contract, we found this, we heard this at 3 of the 5 we talked to, the three that were more private, not the municipals, that when something goes wrong, they don't come running at it with an AEW, they fix it. They lost greens at the Grove for wasn't one source's fault, and they replaced it and did not charge them. So, I mean, I appreciate that. Yes, we know that. They put in this nursery green here. They've done some wonderful things here. They've gone above and beyond. But large companies like this, again, like Kevin said, when we investigated, they're both good companies, and both of them do things like that too.
I haven't heard much about common area, and I know that some of the common ground wasn't taken care of as well as it should have been. So I'm sure that there's specs in there that, I know you added gazebo park and the tennis courts, which were kind of loosey-goosey.
Just to give you an idea, Bonnie, that there's things in there, frequency of weeding, frequency of the perennials being replaced, string trimming, frequency of string trimming, frequency of pine straw applications. It's very, I just can't tell you how detailed this is. I mean, I won't speak for the other three. I'm very proud of this RFP. It's one of the best things, I'm very proud of it. It's extremely detailed.
The bushes along the walk have been somewhat of a problem if they didn't get trimmed and people couldn't walk on the sidewalk. You answered the question.
Question, Bill. When I wrote specifications, the tennis courts were in there. You keep saying that it wasn't.
The tennis association, there's a small specification on the tennis courts. The tennis organization wrote, I guess prior to you all signing the last one, a 5-page detailed specification, which we are making them. They are doing. Dave is doing them. But Bob Youngblood asked me to make sure that that detailed specification, which they're doing, but is not an addendum to the last contract. That's what I meant, Tom. But they are doing it at that level. That's the detail we're going into. We're not just looking at, the obvious stuff, golf course and common grounds. But we're looking at all the other things that Valley Crest interacts with to make sure everything's in this contract. And it's a one price, one payment, and not like now, not an add-on for the dumpster, and a bill every month for this, and a bill every month for irrigation parts and things like that. Any other questions? Yeah, Ken.
One more statement. As everybody knows, I'm kind of interested in money. So I know this board seems to have done a very good job on figuring out this contract. It appears you've done a very good job of getting this contract ready and all that. I just want to point out, as Tommy said, sometimes money isn't the only thing to be considered. The grass always looks green on the other side of the fence. And I would just recommend to the board that you put serious consideration not to go to another source just for the money.
And that's true. And that's that. But fortunately, the board has a fiduciary responsibility. And if they can get a purveyor to do the same thing for significantly less money, I think they have an obligation and be as much as we can, guarantee that we're getting the two contracts or the two products that are being bid are the same, can be delivered in the same fashion. They have a fiduciary responsibility to do what's best for the entire association. So, right. So that's in Val. When we first started this, when I first asked Val, that's one of the founding ideas. When you say Val, this we talked about is that we want to make sure, number one, again, back to the specifications, that are apples on apples, but we wanted to make sure that when this package went to the board, that we had specifications dealt with, but also that they had the ability to exercise their fiduciary duty as board members.
Any other questions? Anybody have any comments on the agenda items on Wednesday?
Thank you.
Does anybody know what they are? Does anybody know what they are? Thanks for coming. Have a good night.